I figure we'll go early. We'll go a little early. Video mirroring is off there. Um, yeah, we're trying something. We're trying. I got the exposure right on Instagram today. Good morning, everybody. Uh, Happy Monday. Monday. It's Monday already. Hopefully, all our technology cooperates. It's been one of those days. It's been one of those months, maybe, possibly. I don't know. We're going to get some confirmation as to whether or not we sound right. I don't think I've changed the levels for Instagram here. Hopefully, this
It actually
still works.
sounds good.
It sounds good. Q has given us confirmation. Hi, Q. Good morning. And she goes silent. There's so much to talk about today. I want to just let's have a look. Let's see who's in here. Neon says, "Good blessed Monday morning, everybody." We got Will with a good morning, Sean. Happy Monday. Probably trying says hi. Hi back. And let's see here.
Instagram can't hear me. Did you know that?
Instagram should be able to hear you because yeah, they can hear you. They should be able to hear you.
No, TikTok hears me. Instagram doesn't hear me. I can hear myself on Instagram.
Then if you can hear yourself on Instagram, they can hear you too. Somebody is pulling your leg. Pro Football Craze, good morning to you, coming in from Twitch. So just to let everybody know, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada. We go live Monday to Friday. We answer your traffic and police questions. And one of the things, you cannot hear yourself on. Oh, well, isn't that odd? Hang on a second. We're being told that it doesn't make any sense, though. Okay, we'll try anyway. We'll believe. Oh, wait, why is there no mix?
It's okay. I don't want to hear myself anyway.
Well, but that doesn't make any sense because you're getting an audio out with No, it should be coming out. There is no reason that I can... I hear you, and I'm on a headphone out, and so is Instagram. So they should be hearing you. I could try a different port, but that doesn't make any sense. Why they wouldn't hear you. Maybe they think you're speaking more than you actually are. I just don't want to mess with anything to give me that static that I was getting last week.
Yeah, let's not mess around. It's fine. They don't have to hear me.
But it's the same channel as... Anyway, okay, we're moving on. We're not going to harp on this. But why can't you hear yourself on Instagram? That's so strange.
I don't know.
Okay. You know what? Now that I reached in that general direction, I angered the audio gods, and now I hear that minor hiss. Oh, why? Anyway, here, let's go here. I'm going to throw this on for a second. I'm curious now. Well, I hear me. Q, say something. I want to hear I want proof positive.
Good morning, Instagram. Can you hear me? Do.
Okay, I got this. Weird. Yeah,
You're
that's
gonna have
so
me doing
weird.
a jig and a sing soon.
But I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. And, 1 second. Okay, just because I was curious, I'm doing it this way. I threw you on a different channel. Instagram went on a different channel. Hopefully that sound wasn't terrible. Anyway, moving on. If you are watching, we are on a number of different platforms. We are on Instagram because we've been talking about how nobody can hear Q on Instagram. We are also on TikTok, our primary platform. We are then also simulcasting across YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, where else? Anywhere else? I think that covers it. And if you have questions, if you'd like me to answer your questions live right now, throw them in the Q&A. Now, Q&A is available on Instagram, Twitter, and then we have a regular chat. So if you're on any of the other platforms and you throw your question into the mix, we're going to get it, and we'll answer it live. So feel free to say hello. Now let me scroll back here in the chat and see what's going on. So we have TR Wacom? I don't know how to, like Wacom, I don't know. Hello, good morning to you. A Topple, good morning, Sean and Q. We've got Magic in a Minute with a good morning, sir. How's it going, Magic in a Minute? Haven't seen you in a while. Unless I'm confusing you with a different Magic. Yeah, I am confusing you with a different Magic. You have a beard. He doesn't have a beard. Good morning, Magic in a Minute. Okay, we've got Everyone double tap. If you are on if you're on Instagram or if you're on TikTok, please double tap that screen. It's going to help us tell the rest of TikTok and Instagram you should be in here, hanging out with us. Do you see more people without winter tires lately? Well, in Ontario, I always see people who don't have winter tires. We have a lot of people who believe that all seasons are, where it's at. And sadly, they're missing out. They don't have the benefits of the safety that comes with winter tires. So I would totally endorse switching to a winter snow tire. What Safe Driver always says, it's not a snow tire, it's a winter tire. It's based on temperature, the way that the rubber compound reacts to the colder weather. That's why when it gets to be 7 degrees or less, we like to see people with winter tires. And provinces like Quebec, they make it mandatory. There's a reason for it. Okay, I'm going to jump into the Q&A now. Crayon Stealer says, I haven't seen you in forever. Happy to see your face. Who's that? Beth. Beth, I have to look into your account to see. But I'm here all the time. I haven't left. I've always been here. Okay. I'll follow up with you later. Let's see here. I got if my friend leaves my house high, am I liable? Did you serve him or her that stuff that they are on when they left? You have some level of responsibility. It's not like you're a bar, but it's been there have been parties where people were serving alcohol where they've come back to be responsible to some degree because you're serving. I haven't got a lot of information on that, but it's possible. At the end of the day, I would want to make sure that now let's go further. If they leave high and they get into a car accident, a collision, because they were high, they were impaired, and you could have stopped it. Even let's take liability out of the mix. Could you have saved a life? Could you have saved them from going through that? I would expect people to act, and if they refuse your intervention, I would call police. Because it's a life and death situation. In terms of liability, bars are they serve alcohol. Someone leaves their place and gets into a collision, and it can come back to them over serving them potentially. Yeah, it's a problem. Let's see here. Can cops see if you've been in car accidents? Yeah, your collision, your history, your driving history all shows up when we look into your vehicle and run your license and so on. And just a note to everyone who's watching. So first off, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada. And yes, I answer your traffic and police questions, but I have a team. The team happens to be a team of volunteers. They don't get paid. They're not police officers. They are just volunteers who are here trying to keep it classy. So if you're spamming, if you're harassing other people inside the chat room, please stop, because we want to keep it classy. We want to get everybody an opportunity to answer or have their questions answered. Also, if you have any friends or family or people that you think might enjoy or benefit from being in here, send them an invite. Bring them into the room. Okay. Can I get a quick release steering wheel? Not in Ontario, not for a couple of reasons. One, they're generally not safe. Two, if you're replacing an airbag, you're taking part of the safety equipment out of the vehicle and, again, deeming the vehicle unsafe. And you can certainly buy one. You just can't use it on the road. Q just threw me a message reminding. You use that on a racetrack, no one's going to care. But if you're using it on the road, there's a problem with it. Quick release, they're not intended for. Listen, even if it's not quick release, a changing your steering wheel to one that doesn't have an airbag, if your vehicle comes stock with an airbag, is a problem.
Here's one from Chad, just
Sure.
because it's winter and I miss talking about it. What age does a child have to be to ride on a motorcycle?
Okay, so this is a question. I'm going to repeat it because we can't understand why Instagram can't hear Q. Makes no sense, but anyway. No, I thought there was a button I could press, but no, that's not the case. Anyway, when is it appropriate, or at what age can someone or a child ride on a motorcycle? That's the question that I'm getting from chat, and the answer is as long as they can touch the pegs. So if you have passenger pegs, if they are old enough to make contact, put their feet firmly on the pegs, and they have a helmet, they're good to go. Is it the safest time? I want to make sure they're mature enough to know to hold on and not to wiggle around. As a rider, I would feel comfortable with someone who was old enough that I felt comfortable that they weren't going to fall off or play around or throw their hands in the air. And as a child, maybe not be a passenger because they've fallen off onto the road. It's bad. I'm responsible for that person. But legally, in Ontario, feet on the boards, that's enough. And I've seen some modified pegs that raise them, like Goldwing pegs, that you could throw them up higher by a couple inches to make it possible. So there you go. Okay, we got Will's message earlier. What is this? Are cops legally allowed to ask minors for information? Depends on what the situation is. Legally, can we ask minors? Yeah. We can have conversations with minors. Are minors, you talk about minors, children, if they're being investigated, yeah. Now, is there an opportunity, or do we make an opportunity to have parents or guardians or adults of that are responsible for them present? Yeah, there's all sorts of things that go into it. But can we ask and have conversations? Sure. Is it illegal to run from a security guard? So security guards have a certain level of authority on the property that they're related to. Running from a security guard, if you're breaking the law and they're arresting you, are you evading arrest? Yeah, they have the legal authority to arrest you. Yeah, if they've initiated an arrest process and you run away, if you assault them, these are all things you're not supposed to do, right? Is it illegal to accelerate the speed limit quickly? It's not a specific, there's more to it than that. So if you hammer the gas and you break traction, that's stunt driving. If you hammer the gas and accelerate quickly and nothing happens, no big deal type thing, potentially, we've had this discussion, Sergeant Campbell and myself, and if you accelerate quickly and you cause other people to do things like pedestrians to dive out of the way or to be fearful, or they can't judge the speed in which you're approaching, it could be a problem, and it could be deemed as a stunt or racing or any number of things. So drive safely within the law. There's no specific law that says thou shalt not accelerate quickly, but if you do it, and again, other people, react to it, you might be causing an issue, and you might be investigated, and might have charges laid. So I don't want to say it is or isn't legal. It depends. Is it illegal to drive with the interior light on? No, it's not. Not in Ontario. And now there's other provinces and other states that may have different laws. But here, it's not illegal. My kid is scared to drive. Should he drive? Listen, if you're so scared that you're going to have panic attacks while you're driving, you're not doing yourself any favors. You need to be a confident driver. You need to feel that you can do this. If you can't, you're putting yourself and others at risk. So I wouldn't force someone to drive if they don't want to drive, even though I've harassed my wife regularly to drive when she doesn't drive and doesn't like driving. But she went to the young drivers. She took the tests. She took the courses. It's not for her. She doesn't feel comfortable. So that's it. Maybe she'll revisit it later, and maybe your son will revisit it. Your kid, I don't know if a son or daughter would revisit it later. But again, having a scared driver is to no one's benefit. Do you want Tesla police cruisers? I'm a geek. I want Tesla police cruisers because I think that'd be awesome. We do have some hybrids, not Teslas in particular. I don't know how well that would work, honestly. I have driven Teslas. I have played around with them. I think they're awesome, a lot of fun. But if I need to be in a car or in a vehicle for long shifts and make sure that it's got enough juice to do what I need to do when I need to do it, I don't want to get stuck in a situation where throwing a couple of dollars of dinosaur juice in it would just make it work. Okay. Is it elegant to hit an officer? I don't know if you mean in a motor vehicle or by your fist. Either way, I think you'd find yourself going to jail. So elegant may not be a good way to describe it. What does a yellow speed sign mean? A yellow speed limit sign is a suggestion. It's not a regulated sign. And I misspoke when I was on the air with Jerry Agar. I was talking about orange ones, yellow ones, and white ones. The white ones are regulated. The other ones aren't. They're all suggestions. And I made mention of the ones on construction zones being regulated too. They're not. Speed. I got deep in the weeds and something, but yeah, effectively they're just suggestions, and they're good suggestions. You should follow them, but they're not regulated. Okay, how is police training? It's fun. Of course, it's fun. Police training is awesome. I really enjoyed my time going to the Ontario Police College and the Toronto Police College. Even enjoyed my time learning. It's all about learning. We're constantly learning. So you know what? It's challenging. You do things you never thought you could do. You do things that you've likely never done before, and you learn a lot about yourself. You learn how to, much I imagine like the military would train you to learn that you can succeed, even when people think that they can't and tend to want to give up. So there's definitely something going on where it's all in your head. People give up way too easy. Okay. You're a traffic officer. I am a police officer. I happen to work for traffic services, and that is a unit that is a citywide unit responding to traffic-related events in the city of Toronto. So we handle investigations, enforcement of the HDA, investigations when it comes to collisions, minor and major, death investigations when it comes to people who die as a result of collisions. But we are a traffic unit.
What's your name?
What's that? Yeah, that's the hint. Traffic services. That's the hint. And I think we're the best place to work in the city of Toronto, or at least for the Toronto Police Service. The unsung heroes. No, I posted a video with the chief a couple days ago, or last week. We had an interview with him and talking about the fact that we're the less glorified. No one said, people want to be tactical officers running and gunning. Very few people wake up and say, I want to be a traffic cop. But I'll tell you, it's got to be one of the most rewarding things you can do. And we have a lot of new people. We've got 860 people in the room. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. And I go live here on social media answering your traffic and police questions. So if you have a question that you'd like answered, please throw it in the Q&A. I will get to it. We're here for an hour. So, let's get back to it.
How was your weekend, and what did you do leading into it?
My weekend, well, first of all, I was out of town for Thursday and Friday. I was in Cobourg, the lovely, lovely town of Cobourg, for the Omron conference. It's a conference for the what does Omron stand for? Ontario Media Relations Officer Network. It's a group of officers that do what I do and speak to the media and speak to the press and cover these types of things that we do, which is talking to you, the public. So we had a meeting. It was great. I got to present about TikTok and the things that I do that are unique. Had a lot of fun. It was great to see some friendly faces and meet some new ones. Really excellent people. And what else can I tell you? I did that and came back home, saw my kids after a couple of days away. So that was awesome. The screaming, crying, running. It's like I came back from being deployed overseas. You'd think they hadn't seen me in a year, but it would only been one night away. In any case, the weekend was great. A lot of cuddling, a lot of TV watching, not a lot of anything else. I was exhausted. So, it was a pretty chill weekend, but thanks for asking. Okay, is it illegal to have this is interior light question 2 for the day. Is it illegal to have the interior light on at night inside the car? Is it a good idea? No. Is it illegal? No, not in Ontario. So the deal is that if you have a bright light on inside the vehicle, it makes it harder for you to see outside the vehicle. So it is a safety concern, and it could lead to a collision, I suppose. But it's not explicitly illegal. Now, if you have a red bulb, it is easier. You'll notice that police cars now come with red lights, depending on the manufacturer. Fords, for instance, have a 2-part switch. You can either go white light or red light. Red light is something you'll often see. It's used by pilots, and it doesn't dilate your eyes. You can still see things, but it's not going to affect your night vision. So that's a cool thing. Do police have the right of way over fire trucks? I haven't the foggiest. I very rarely race fire trucks. They have things that need to get there before I get there in many situations. But I've never had the issue. I've never looked it up. I don't think there's a priority. Whoever's got their sirens on and gets there first is probably going first.
Tax collector?
Tax collector? That's the question.
Is that where our taxes are going to?
I don't know. You know what people often ask about are police or traffic in particular tax collectors. We're not collecting tax unless it's a stupid tax. And I say that because people are breaking laws and then they pay the fine. If you don't break the law, you don't pay the fine. So it's not me collecting taxes. It's somebody else making a donation and just asking me to pull them over. Yeah, difference of opinions. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to pay, don't play the game. Is it illegal to remove mirrors on a motorcycle? You need to have at least one mirror to the rear, period. Same in a car, you need at least one mirror to the rear. So is it illegal? The removal isn't, but using your vehicle on the road without them is. Okay. We've already covered it was legal to race to the speed limit. Well, racing is stunt drive, or racing it qualifies as a stunt, 6 demerit points, bad things happen, don't race. Accelerating quickly to the speed limit, not as explicitly covered in law. But as I mentioned earlier, the action might cause issues. Okay. What are your thoughts about British police? I've met some magical police from Britain. I have some friends and people that I've met going to the September 11th Memorial every year. We have had so many amazing stories. They do a great job, and many of them do it without carrying firearms, which is absolutely, I have no idea how they do their job. But so many wonderful people and friends that I have that are with the British Police. Yeah, we're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to help people. So yeah, that's what we do.
Sorry, can you be charged for the same offense twice even when fines have been paid?
It depends on what the offense is, but yes. So let's say you are driving to work, and on the way you get a ticket for doing something wrong. You can get charged for that multiple times on your drive. Oddly enough, you can also be ticketed for this. So let's say peeling license plates, big topic right now. I stop you on Monday and you have a peeling license plate and you don't fix it. Tuesday, I can give you that ticket again. That's not to say I couldn't give you that ticket 5 times in the same day. Likely nobody would. It needs to be reasonable. We're not out there to hammer you. We're out there to correct your behavior. So if I give you a ticket on a Monday and you can't get there on Monday, but you go there on Tuesday and you get it replaced and you get it fixed, you've done what it's reasonable. If I stop you on Monday and then 2 Mondays, 2 weeks later, you still haven't fixed a plate, I'd give you a ticket again because you're not getting the message. Yeah. So it all depends. Speeding tickets, I can give you, if you continue to speed, you can get 10 per day. There's no limit. Get as many as need be. What if I were to build a track on 100 acres? Not how you spell acres, but the deal is that in Ontario, the Highway Traffic Act was amended September 12, 2021, and sorry, Q is messaging me. Apparently, my name tag was. I'm having uniform issues today. Yeah, there's an exemption. So, September 12th, 2021, stunt driving now is a charge that can be laid on private property. That's the deal. Now, if you are on private property, your farm, your own land, and you're stunt driving, you could be charged. It's unlikely, but you could be charged. So, this question about can you build a track on 100 acres? Good question. I don't know what would cover as a legal track. There is an exemption for tracks, for go-kart and for tracks for motor vehicles, regular motor vehicles. So possibly you need to find out from your municipality what would qualify as a track. Okay. What if you're an American, get a ticket in Canada? Well, you get a ticket in Canada. If you're from New York or Michigan, we have a reciprocal agreement, so we're going to report to your place of residence, your local drivers, or is it what is it? It's not Ministry of Transit, DMV. We'll report it to the DMV. Now, if you're in somewhere else in the States, it may or may not affect your license, but you will still have a charge here. And if you don't do anything with it, you may find yourself, when back here, answering to it, where you'd be suspended. And if you're suspended from driving here, you wouldn't be allowed to drive on your American license while you're visiting. Likewise, if you're a Canadian and you're driving in the States and you don't pay your fines, you're looking to get arrested next time you're there, because Americans don't mess around. What is the loudest your exhaust is allowed to be? The loudest allowed. It's allowed to be 74 decibels. That's the according to Neon, he's one of our moderators, he's a mechanic, 74 decibels. Now, that doesn't mean you're at 74 decibels at idle and you're legal, at least not 100%, because if you decide to rev, if you decide to drive and red line it everywhere you go, that's unnecessary noise that you're creating. You don't have to do that. You're doing it by choice or because you don't know how to drive. But at the end of the day, you could be charged. You could be charged for having your stereo too loud, having your horn honking for no reason, all those things. And just a note, we were just over 1,000 viewers in the channel. That was wild. I think that's a new record.
You've done it before.
I have? I wasn't paying attention.
Yes, you have.
Okay. What dash cam do you see people use the most? I see a lot of different dash cams of various brand names and qualities, front facing only, front and rear GPS enabled. At the end of the day, any dash cam that you choose to use is going to be better than no dash cam. But I can't endorse any one dash cam over another. How well do police officers need to know the criminal code? Well, we had to pass tests to get our to graduate, so we know it pretty well. Certainly, if we don't know something, and there's things we can't know everything, so a lot of it happens to be based on common sense, which is not as common as one might think, but it is common sense. And we look things up, so we make sure before we lay charges that we are 100%, and we get to bounce things off of people like sergeants who know stuff too. So we do have a working knowledge of the criminal code and the Highway Traffic Act, and we work within those and do the right thing. Here's a question: why do you do this every day? Because we do this every day, Monday to Friday anyway. It's because people have questions, and we need to make sure that we're accessible so people can get answers. Does a PPO stay on your record or go away? What's a PPO? Provincial? I'm not sure what provincial offenses ticket. Like if you get a ticket, I'm assuming that's what you mean. I don't know what a PPO is. So a ticket will stay on your record after conviction for 3 years.
Police protection order.
A police protection order? You know what? I don't know. I don't know how long. If you have a protection order against you, that might be there for longer. I don't know how long. I don't know how that works. Not something I'm familiar with. Let's see here. So police truck is a thing now. I need answers. Who's asking me this?
There's a question in chat that's pretty ingenious, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Is it illegal to have a mount on your rear view mirror for a phone to facilitate as a dash cam?
So there's only one mode that is under the Highway Traffic Act in Ontario that says you can have your phone on and visible for one reason, and that reason is GPS. You can have your screen visible to the driver as a GPS. You can't touch the phone or articulate within setting destinations. So that's the only time you can have your screen on. Beyond that, it should be off or not visible to the driver. So using it as a dash cam is not acceptable. Not only that, I don't know how much memory you have on your phone, but I wouldn't waste it on dash cam functionality. Additionally, having it on your mirror would likely obstruct your vision, so I would suggest against it. It might be where you end up with a ticket for obstruct the driver's view. Okay. Personal protection order. So that the follow-up there was for personal protection order, not police protection order. But I still don't. I can't speak to it. It's not my area of specialty. I haven't dealt with them, so I need to phone a friend, and we can't do that here. But Skylar Falk, email me or DM me, and we'll look into it further for you. Can I turn left on a red light coming from a one-way? So in Ontario, there's only one time you can make left on a red light, and that is left on a red from a one-way to another one-way. So if you're on a one-way street and you approach a red light and you're turning left onto another one-way street, you can, in fact, make a left on a red. In Ontario, you can also make rights on red after coming. These were both after coming to a complete stop and ensuring it's safe to do so before you start the move. Okay. What if you have a big turbo and need high RPMs? If you're making unnecessary noise, you're going to end up with a ticket for unnecessary noise. That's ultimately it. We've got some people who are trying to advertise in chat. Please don't. That's spamming. And although we don't have posted rules, advertising is spamming. Don't do it here. You'll end up getting muted, and we don't want that. The best way to support family in the force, like how to support the family of officers, or so. What do you want to do? You know what? As far as if you have a family member who's a member of a police force, knowing that sometimes it's a tough job, and I don't think people appreciate what it does to people mentally. It's a stressful job, so maybe give them a break once in a while. Tell them that you appreciate what they do, if you do. Okay, what happens if you hit a teacher? Well, you're probably going to get arrested for assault. Is it true you can do 10 over the limit before you are considered speeding? No, 1 kilometer over or 1 mile over is technically speeding. There's no allowance. There's no permissible speed over the limit that you're legally allowed to do. You have to know that while you might not get stopped for it by one officer, the next officer might be a real tough person. I was going to use a different word, but I'll use the more polite. They're tough, and they may say, you know what? 5 kilometers is their limit, so they're going to pull you over. You don't know what you're going to get until you get it. So I'll give you the warning. Don't do it because you could be charged. And there's no reason to speed. It's one of those things, there's no justified reason for speeding. How much is the fine for a modified car? It depends on what the modification is. Modifying your car isn't explicitly illegal in Ontario, But if you put a muffler on that isn't a muffler, if you take your muffler off, it's going to be $110 type thing for an improper muffler. If you're going to be creating unnecessary noise, it's going to be $110. Those two could go together. If you remove your catalytic converters, that's a different charge under a different act. It'll be more. It really depends. Everything has a price, and at the end of the day, make sure what you do to your vehicle is legal before you do it. Because you could end up with thousands of dollars in fines if you break multiple rules.
What's the law regarding? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
What is the law regarding pulling over for emergency vehicles on a highway? Stop or slow lane?
So here's the deal. The rules or the law says move over to the side of the road or it says move over to the closest curb or side of road and stop. Granted, by the time on a highway, if it's not total congestion, you're going to move over, and by the time you get through the process of moving over, the vehicle that in question, the emergency vehicle, is going to be past you, at which point you no longer need to stop. You can get back into the flow of traffic. So it depends. If you're in slower traffic, you will likely have to stop. If it's faster traffic, you may not have to because they will have already passed you and the need to pull over and stop will have ended. I hope that roundabout description makes sense. But the deal is that you need to. The HTA says you got to stop. You just can't stop unsafely. You can't hammer the brakes in the middle of the highway. You're going to end up getting rear-ended. So you move over to the side. You slow down and come to a stop, and that's it. Oh, and I just completely missed that question because my order of operations got messed up. Let me see if I can go back and find that. Tons of questions. And while I'm scrolling through questions, just a reminder that I am Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada, and I go on TikTok and answer your questions Monday to Friday. This week's going to be Monday to Thursday because I've got to take the day off on Friday, but we will be here as often as we can to answer your traffic and police questions. Forgive me for the person I just completely removed your question inadvertently. I don't know where we were because it's all Q's fault, really.
I quit.
Do bikers get pulled over for speeding? Absolutely they do. Anyone who is speeding in a motor vehicle will ultimately be pulled over. I've had so many interesting stops from motorcyclists and many who are stunt driving who lost their motorcycle for 7 days back then before the law was changed to losing for 14 days and now a 30-day license suspension.
I found it.
You found it? What was it?
Should I take a speeding ticket to court? First time. Ha!
That's the one. Myself. Thank you, Q. Pats on the back for you. The deal is that you always have the right to challenge a ticket if you think that you've been unfairly or incorrectly charged. So you have that right. Now, do I think you're going to get away with it or you're going to have a benefit? I love going to court. I miss going and testifying. Truth is that it challenges me as an officer to go and prove my case. And at the end of the day, I tend to get convictions, but that's me. And actually, that's most officers. If you have compelling evidence to say you weren't doing what you are accused of doing, then by all means. But I would ask you not to waste the court's time just playing roulette to see if you can pass. It's a waste of money. It's taxpayer money that you're wasting. And I appreciate no one likes to get a ticket, but you know what? You're making everybody pay for your ticket when you take it to court. Okay, what happens if you drive with an expired sticker? So, Faisal, the deal is that if you're in Ontario and your sticker expired from March 1st, 2020 onwards to now, or actually all the way until February 28th, you're covered under an extension up until February 28th. So that's because of the pandemic. Outside of the pandemic, when it expires, you're expired and you get a ticket for $110. Your validation is required when you need to get a new one. So if it's expired, it expires on your birthday for personally owned vehicles and at the end of the month of the registration for commercial vehicles. And I think that's what you were hoping. I hope that's what you were looking for. Can I vape just nicotine while driving if I don't? I don't know what the I don't goes into because it got cut off, but vaping isn't illegal with nicotine. It is obviously illegal for any kind of narcotic, but you can vape. At the end of the day, don't fog your car. You got to be able to see.
Children in car.
Children in car, thank you for bringing that up. If you have passengers under the age of 16, it is, however, illegal. So please don't do that. You're not allowed to have, it's Ontario, Smoke-Free Ontario Act says you can't smoke nicotine or anything in the vehicle when you have kids in the car. That's anyone under the age of 16 that it covers. Okay, is it concealed carry on a motorcycle? Well, I'm assuming you're from the United States because we don't have concealed carry in Ontario or in Canada for that matter. You can't get a concealed weapons permit unless you're police. Well, it's not even a concealed weapons permit. Unless you're a police officer, you're likely not carrying a police or a firearm. So and transporting a firearm, if you're a legal gun owner, in a case, in a locked compartment in a locked case with trigger lock separate from ammunition, that is possible on a motorcycle, but it has to be properly stowed. Okay. Fine/charges enhanced for hitting emergency worker. You mean hitting, so this is not a firefighter asking, do you mean hitting, is this an assault or are you talking about hitting a vehicle? Let me know because, collisions happen. So do you get an additional fines or charges for hitting an emergency vehicle? Not that I'm aware of. If you attack or assault somebody who is who's effectively working as a peace officer, so a mayor, if you assault a mayor, you assault a peace officer. I don't know if it covers a fire or ambulance, but certainly it's aggravating for the purposes of the for the charge for when it comes to court. Legality of nitrous oxide. My understanding is it's not legal. Can you be arrested? Can you be arrested for a cop finding a taser? Well, yes, you can, because in Ontario or in Canada, for that matter, you can't own a taser. That's something in the States you can have one if you meet certain restrictions based on the state that you live. But in Ontario and the rest of Canada, you cannot own a taser. It's a police restricted weapon. In an emergency zone like so striking someone. So there is a slow down, move over rule. So there are charges in relation to that. Yes. Hey, Sarge, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Did you want to sit in and wire up?
You know what? I'll listen in.
Okay. So the question that just came in: are there increased fines or charges for hitting a emergency services worker on the highway when they're working on a scene? Because there's a slow down, move over rule, so there is a charge specific to it. But is there anything that would increase beyond that of the charge?
So, obviously, if you hit anything, it's pretty serious. If you're in a construction zone, there are rules around construction zones, slow down, increased fines, increased penalties. As far as emergency services workers, the slow down, move over rule is in effect, and you could face fines for that alone. But if you get into collision, the fines are obviously, and the charges obviously would be
there you go.
more significant.
So there's I'm going to have to do some reading there, Mr. Not a Firefighter. I say Mr. I don't know if you're a Mr. I just know you're not a firefighter, according to your name. Okay, moving on, because down the rabbit hole I went on that. So there are some specific charges. We talked about that, but there may be increased fines, as you mentioned, that you brought up.
Or increased charges like careless driving.
Or increased charges like careless driving. Now, these all make sense. But I was looking for something specifically that says, thou shalt not hit a firefighter. I think it's an obvious one, but...
Yeah.
Can the spam?
Anybody.
Oh, apparently there's a ton of spam. Why are we spamming? You want to can the spam? We should sell it. Spam in the can?
I don't know. But if people ask questions in the chat, it gets answered in the chat. If you want Sean to answer it, please pop it in the Q&A.
And for Instagram, who may not be able to hear you, Q is just saying that if you ask questions on or within the chat, I won't see them. I don't look in the chat after the first minute or two. So if you'd like me to see them, throw them in the Q&A, and we'll get to them. If you don't put them in the Q&A, you won't. I won't see them, and that's it. And Sergeant Campbell has now been drawn into the conversation. He's pulling up a chair. From Instagram, we have a question from I don't know how. Jashima, I don't know how to say your name. How long does a speeding ticket stay on your record? You want to take that one?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. The answer is convictions stay on for 3 years. Points stay on from 2 years from the date of the offense, and convictions stay on for 3 years from the date of conviction. So they do stay there. Now, part of your long-term record, they're always really there. They're just not visible unless you get your abstract or get a deep dive search. What is this? Is driving under the minimum speed limit with a spare tire okay? So generally the rule is 50. I think it's 50-50. So 50 kilometers an hour up to 50 kilometers in distance on a spare before you get it replaced, because they're not intended for high speed or long distance. Is it okay to drive? Well, you change your tire and you have that, as a restriction. Getting off the road, the highway, as soon as possible is the way to go. We don't have posted minimums, and we do have something called, unnecessary slow driving. one of those things is it unreasonable? Well, it's not reasonable for you with that tire to drive at 50K in a 100 km/h zone. That would be unsafe. Now, that's not to say that you're not allowed to travel under the speed limit. You can drive below the posted speed limit. It's the limit, not the minimum. So it really depends on the situation. Certainly, if you're trying to pull back onto the road to get off the highway, is it reasonable? Yeah, it's reasonable for you to go a little bit slower. Maybe turning your hazards on at that point because you're really going slower. Every situation is going to be a little bit different.
Sean, more to that, a spare tire is a very small donut tire that'll make your car handle differently. It'll handle differently in snow. It'll handle differently on the dry pavement. It also rotates at a much faster speed because usually it's a smaller diameter. It can affect a whole bunch of things, especially high-speed driving. If you're going to be using a spare tire, use it to get yourself into a place of safety where you can make some alternate arrangements to get a proper replacement tire put on or your tire fixed.
Yeah, the goal is not to drive for the next week and a half on your spare. And we see that very often. Another thing to think about is spares are generally not intended, not just generally, they're not supposed to be on the front two tires. So if you get a front flat, the most appropriate thing to do would be putting that spare on the rear if you can. Obviously, at the side of the road, you're not doing multiple tire swaps, but you need to know that turning with a spare on the front could reduce or cause a loss of control, and that's important. Let's see here. Next question: is carrying pepper spray illegal? Well, it depends on the pepper spray. See, we're allowed to have dog repellent in Canada, and dog repellent for use against dogs. If you're walking your animal, you're going on a hike, dog repellent is legal to carry. But you use that on a human, and you're going to get charged with assault. That's not to say that you might find your way out of it later in court, but you may be arrested for assault. Pepper spray that has contents that are restricted contents, like, for instance, tear gas. That's something in Canada that is a prohibited item that you could see jail time of a year for possession. So it really depends on what you're buying, what you're carrying, and my suggestion is don't carry pepper spray unless, again, it's specifically permitted within Canada for the use against animals. Anything to add on that?
Yeah, it all depends on what the use is for. It's unreasonable if you're carrying pepper spray if you're walking within a city street without your dog around just in case. That would be unreasonable. And you know what? If you're found to have it, there would be no expectation that you're using it to ward off dogs because you're walking down the street and there's no dogs. But if you're walking through a back trail and you're there, with somebody else or with your family or something like that, and it's there for that specific purpose, that's reasonable.
I'm turning the mic over for you so you get a little louder.
All right.
You were saying they can't hear you. Okay. Yeah. So you need to be smart about it. The idea of buying pepper spray or as dog repellent, and some people just have a fear of dogs and don't have a dog. So there may be a reason to carry it, but there's no reason to use it, and you may be looking for more trouble than it's worth. What's the law about tailgating? Well, you can't do it. It's unsafe to follow too close. How close is too close? It's measured in seconds when it comes to the way your driving instructor teaches you to stay. But in terms of the actual distance, I don't think it's outlined in the HTA. I think it's just what's reasonable or not reasonable. I got to pull it up now.
And you know what? Your speed can make that distance. A greater distance is needed for the greater speed. You have to be able to react to something that's happening in front of you and be able to stop safely without crashing into anything. So
the charge, it's 158 sub 1 of the Highway Traffic Act. The charge is follow too closely. It's $110 and 4 demerit points. And it states, the driver of a motor vehicle or streetcar shall not follow another vehicle or streetcar more closely than is reasonable and prudent, having due regard for the speed of the vehicle and the traffic on and the conditions of the highway. I love how it's written. It's like poetry, isn't it? It's subjective, but you don't want it. You can't do it. You can't tailgate. There was a really good one here that I saw, and now it's disappeared. But you know what? We haven't talked about Underglow recently, so let's cover that. Underglow is simply not something that is specifically regulated. Can you have Underglow? You can install it. Depending on the color, you may find yourself being pulled over for that. Also, depending on where it's visible from, you can't shine light forward that is anything other than yellow or white. So if you're projecting forward light, you might find yourself being, charged under the Highway Traffic Act for improper headlights, even though it's Underglow. But if it's Underglow shining forward because it's not properly installed, it's effectively a headlight. To the rear, same thing. If you're shining a light or creating light being projected rearward, that is anything other than red or amber, you're going to be looking at problems. So there's specific colors that they're absolutely restricted. Like you can't have flashing red lights, you can't have blue, you can't have green. These are restricted lights in the province of Ontario. And if you have any light that's causing an issue, I would dissuade you. I say, you know what? It looks cool. It looks great when you're all set up in the parking lot, looking cool. Leave it for the parking lot. Don't use it while you're driving. Why are there no legal self-defense items here? So I don't think there's no legal self-defense items. Weapons are not specifically prohibited. Use of them may find yourself being charged with assault, though. So it really depends. It's a sticky situation. You're allowed to defend yourself within reason. If you use a weapon against someone who's unarmed, is that reasonable? It's all going to come out in court because likely someone's going to get charged in that situation. But a pencil, if you use a pencil as a weapon, it's a weapon. It's all about how you use the things around you. So I tend not to get into whole weapons conversations on this channel, but it's an interesting conversation nonetheless.
And it's what the purpose you have it for. If you carry a pencil around with you for the purpose of protecting yourself, because you're planning on stabbing somebody if they attack you, then it's a weapon. But you know what? If it's sitting on the desk and you need it to
write,
to assist,
to assist,
then it becomes a weapon of opportunity. You're not thinking about it and doing it on purpose. It's there and it's use, and that'll be up for a judge to decide whether it's reasonable or not.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it does come down to that, where you do what you have to do, and then you have to answer for it and articulate it, and the chips fall where they may. You have to let the chips. Anyway, a lot of chips. What kind of chips? Mm-hmm. Ruffles. It's salt, sour cream and onion. That's what I would go for. Okay. Is it illegal to drive with a trailer hitch still installed, even if you're not towing? If it's not obstructing your license plate, I don't think there's anything issue with it. I can't find anything under the HTA. We've talked about this a number of times. I'm not aware of anything that would prevent you from doing that. If it's not obstructing your license plate, that's the big thing.
Or sticking out farther than is allowed to. I think it's 1.2 meters or 1.6
Oh yeah.
meters.
If you have a trailer hitch that's 1.2 meters sticking out of your bumper, we got problems.
Right. The other thing too you might want to be mindful for is your vehicle is designed to absorb an impact at the rear, and it's cheaper to replace a bumper cover or the plastic absorption material in your bumper than it is when you receive a collision at the rear straight into your trailer hitch, which is attached directly to your frame, may cause damage to your frame, and if it does, you may be looking at a whole bunch more damage to your vehicle than what would reasonably happen if you had a bumper on.
And possibly injury, because you talk about that absorption of the impact. That's going to reduce the amount that you feel. But if it goes into the trailer hitch, it's going to be directed to the vehicle directly into you. So you may find yourself more injured than not. But again, is it a charge? There's no charge that I'm aware of, and I don't believe it's illegal in any way. Can I let my friend drive my car? If your friend is a licensed driver and you want to loan it to them, you are technically allowed to do that as long as there's no age. I shouldn't even say that, because in terms of the law, you can loan the car to another licensed driver. You are responsible, though, if they are not licensed and they just say they are. There is a website that the Ontario government has that lets you type in their license plate, or not the license plate, but their driver's license number along with their date of birth, and it will verify the status of that license. So if they're suspended and they're borrowing your car, guess what? You could be on the hook for that. Now, if you lend them the car and you live with them, the insurance company may want you to have them listed on the insurance company, on the insurance policy, I should say. Additionally, if they're under a certain age, you may have a line in your insurance policy stating you can't let anybody under a certain age drive. But that's an insurance thing as opposed to a driver's license thing. So depends. The answer is depends. We have Cheech and Bongo says, "These are amazing. You're awesome, sir." Well, thank you very much. So Sergeant Campbell's awesome too.
I thought he was talking to me.
Oh, you just assumed.
Sergeant Campbell had a lot of highs on Instagram.
Hello, everybody.
Here. Is it okay doing donuts? Is it okay doing donuts during snow in empty parking? If you're in Ontario, And being that it's now past September 12th, 2021, the answer is no. That's now considered stunt driving. You're intentionally losing traction. You're stunting, and you can lose your license for 30 days and your vehicle for 14 days on impound because it's no longer permitted. Not that it was ever really permitted. That kind of activity on a road would be stunt driving prior to September 12th, and now that extends to private property as well.
Yep, and you have to take the whole thing into consideration. What's around you? If you're doing it in a parking lot, not only is it stunt driving, but if there's people around or other cars around, or there's a possibility that people may be around, it could be very dangerous driving as well.
Which becomes criminal, and you can up things. You look at some of the reasons that these laws have now been extended onto private property is the actions of certain drivers who have decided to have events where people stand around and people stunt drive in close proximity to crowds of people. Well, that's not only stunt driving, that's potentially criminal, dangerous driving. So if you know somebody who does that, give them a big thank you and tell them that it's their fault for the law. Kids wearing jackets in car seats. It doesn't matter, kids or adults. Big poofy jackets under a seatbelt or in a harness when it comes to children's car seats reduce the chance or the effectiveness of that seatbelt. It actually lends to additional injury. You end up having multiple collisions. And it sounds strange to say it that way, but when your vehicle comes to a stop abruptly, you're still traveling at the speed your vehicle was traveling prior to it coming to a stop, that rapid deceleration. Well, then you have your jacket, which takes the first buffer because you're now still traveling, but your seat has stopped. You're traveling into the seatbelt. Well, now you have your first, impact. And then once it actually hits your body and compresses all of that fluff, you're going to have another impact. And then your organs are still traveling, and they have an impact against your rib cage and the the whole body thing. So you want to have a nice, firm, and I guess is it taut seatbelt against your body. You don't want to be having that buffer zone of fluff or fluff. What other word can we use for fluff?
You know what? The more secure you are, the safer you are.
I like that. That's easier. Can I pass a Salter truck on 400 series highways? Salters and plows. Can you legally pass one? Well, the answer, in terms of safety, the answer is that you shouldn't, and every piece of material that we put out and the Ministry of Transportation puts out is don't pass a plow. It's unsafe. Those are huge plow blades. You could end up in a collision situation. You could end up with the road in front of it being very slick, so you could be looking for a collision. And if it happens, I don't think the report's going to look too fondly on you for having caused a collision, never mind backing up traffic for everybody. But yeah, is it specifically illegal to pass? I'm not aware of a law that says thou shalt not pass a plow or a salter. But you are going to get pelted with rocks if you do, like salt rocks, and you may end up finding yourself in a slippery situation. See what they did? See what they did there? Yeah.
Wow, that was pretty good.
Once in a while.
You missed the huzzah part,
Huzzah!
so people got it.
Okay. Let's. Sorry, I impress myself occasionally, making myself laugh. Okay. Statute of limitations on speeding tickets. Generally speaking, you can make applications in court if your proceeding takes too long. Those things have all sort of been on hold because there is this global pandemic thing, and it's reasonable for these delays now as opposed to what they would normally be considered and argued as unreasonable. So the answer is, I don't have an answer for you. I don't know what the new limitation is or where we are specifically. If you have to go to court and you've been waiting to go to court, when you finally get to court, you can always say that you think it's unreasonable and argue that before a justice or JP. And yeah.
Sean, is the question to do with the court process, or
Yes.
is it to do with the laying of a charge?
Well, okay, let's assume that it's not the court process. We can talk about the laying of the charge, because laying of the charge, we have a process that once we, actually, we have 6 months to lay a basic charge, I believe.
So we have 30 days under Part 1.
Part 1.
Which is a provincial offences notice. That's just a regular ticket that we get, like you would get at the side of the road. The more serious offences are laid under the Highway Traffic Act, under what we call a Part 3, and that is a summons that you would have to attend court for. So the limitation on laying a summons for somebody after A provincial investigation would be 6 months.
And then if you look at stuff like insurance-related charges, that's 3 years. So every statute has a different set of limitations, if that's where you're going with it. Thanks for bringing it up. I wasn't even thinking on that side of things, because most of the questions we've received is about the court process. Someone wants to know here, rules regarding alternating flashing headlights and flashing red lights on the rear. Alternating flashing headlights is something called a wigwag, and it's specifically excluded or not permitted except for police and emergency vehicles. So that is something you cannot have. Flashing red lights to the rear, your hazards may be flashing red lights. So if they're flashing and not strobing in multiple police flash patterns, I don't know if there's a flash. The intermittent flashes of red light is a charge under the Highway Traffic Act.
To the front.
To the front only. So yeah, you could have your hazards on or having flashing red to the rear, without a problem apparently. But it really depends on what you're looking for and why you're doing it. If you're trying to mimic or look like traffic clearing lights, you might find yourself being investigated for something entirely different. So you may want to stick with amber if you're going to be putting something on your lights or putting lights on your vehicle for the purposes of safety and warning.
I believe that road maintenance vehicles as well, like MTO vehicles or vehicles that are contracted out to perform maintenance on highways, they have an exemption as well where they can have alternating red flashing lights.
Oh, interesting. I got to look up the exemptions. But certainly you don't want to start messing around with flashing red lights. You don't want to be mistaken for a police vehicle or have someone call in saying someone's impersonating the police. That's a problem. At what age can a child sit in the front seat? So this is a sticky situation. We have a video in the FAQ section that covers this, but a child can be out of a car seat at 80 pounds, 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9" in height. And that's when it's legal to sit in a seat with a seatbelt only, legally. Not necessarily the safest way to go, but it is the legal way. There's additional tests that you would perform. 5-point check, can the child sit in the seat with their back flush against the back of the seat? And when they do their knees crest over the edge of the seat to the front so they're not sitting forward, because that would cause major injury in a collision. For safety, you want to look at the other 5 points, not just legal. Now, when they are legally allowed to sit outside of the car seat, they can go in any seat in the car, aside from driving. But we say 14 years old in the back seat, or up until the age of 14 in the back seat. So 13 back seat, 14 front seat. That's what we suggest.
John, just to clarify that, does that mean that anybody under that age cannot sit in the front seat?
No, they can legally. It's just that it's suggested not to.
Right.
Yeah, and there's other things like the reason that that we suggest 14 before they go to the front seat is not about height, not about weight. It's about bone development, according to our friends in the child seat safety business. They tell us that that a child's bones have not. It's a puberty thing. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor, but they tell me stuff, and I say sounds like it makes sense. You know what you're talking about. So that's where we come to that. What happens if I don't have my ID on me? Depends on what we're talking about. Are you driving a motor vehicle? If you're driving a motor vehicle, you don't have your license, and you're obligated to produce a license upon or surrender one upon demand of a police officer, along with your ownership and your insurance documents. You can be charged for not doing that. You can receive a ticket, assuming we can verify your identity. At the end of the day, you could be arrested for not or refusing to identify yourself. So we have to be able to verify to the officer's satisfaction that you are who you say you are. But simply not having your ID on you, it's an offense, but it depends on the situation. So if you're just walking down the street, you don't have ID, generally speaking, not an issue.
If I don't have insurance on my car, what's the punishment or penalty?
Oh, that's a good question. So not having insurance, driving a motor vehicle on the highway without insurance is a big deal. Under the the Compulsory Automobile Insurance Act, it says you got to have it. Now, what happens if you get charged? If you get charged, you have fines ranging from $5,000 to $25,000 on your first conviction. So it's up to 6 months in jail as well, so it's a big deal. Do you still patrol as an officer? I do not. And I do not because I'm currently on light duties. Light duties means I have an injury or I'm being accommodated in some way, but I do have an injury. I was in a motorcycle collision on duty when I was a member of the motor squad, and since that collision, I have not been on the road. I miss it terribly, but I don't have the opportunity to go out as I'd like. But I will say that I get to spend time with you magical people, and I really appreciate that because being here on TikTok and the other social media platforms has given me a whole new lease on policing. I get to be useful and helpful and say no to everybody because I was dubbed at one point the CEO of no. Okay, that's right. Can I get a speeding ticket on a longboard? No. I don't believe that you would qualify for, on a skateboard, a speeding ticket because a bicycle wouldn't cover. In fact, speeding requires you to be in a motor vehicle. So, no, you could not get a speeding ticket unless you were in a city park, because we have a 20 kilometer an hour maximum speed in city parks, and it's not limited to motor vehicles. So that would be the situation when you could technically get a speeding ticket, and not a firefighter with a huzzah that I think is from before. Okay. And we already got one about the insurance. What is the punishment? We got that. Yeah, don't drive without insurance. Aside from all the tickets and potential bad things that will happen when it comes to court, if you were involved in a collision and you hurt somebody, you would expect, or I would expect, you to be sued for an obscene amount of money. I think up to $2 million. And it's hard to argue why you wouldn't be guilty if you had no insurance. So I don't know what your paycheck looks like now, but if you were to try and divide $2 million over a payment plan, I expect you'd be eating a lot of pasta out of a small blue box for a long time. Don't do that. It's just a bad plan. Okay. Questions here. Do police officers ever have to pay for gas? So the police vehicles are owned by the police service, and the police service, we have our own pumps. Rare occasion, I did a course out of town. I had to pay for gas because otherwise I would have run out of it, and I got reimbursed for that gas. So technically, I guess I paid for gas, but I don't actually pay for gas. I just lend the boss some money loan the police service some money for a week or two on rare occasion. It's not a regular occurrence. Can a G2 driver drive if they're not on insurance? So situation is this. You and I are buddies. I lend you my car. You're a G2 driver. I can do that. You live with your parents. They lend you the car. You're supposed to be on the insurance policy. Not legally, but from the perspective of the insurance company. They may choose not to insure you in the event of a collision, saying that you're a regular driver rather than an occasional lending, a one-off situation. Okay. Can you detect a radar detector? So first of all, there's a couple things. One, there's things called radar detectors. That exists. Now, when you talk about detecting radar detectors, we need to have a suspicion that you have one. Creating that suspicion or that belief that you have one is not so hard to do. See, we push that little button on the trigger on the activator on our laser, and you hit the brakes. It's a clue. And that can be enough to start the investigation forward. When it comes to radar in a car, same situation, and even jammers. There's an amazing amount of observational evidence that we can get from just looking at the behavior of you against everybody else. When we hit the button, everybody else's speed comes through as 100, but yours says 60. I wonder why that is. Might be because there's a laser jammer. So, yes, we can. And then we have the right to search and seize based on the Highway Traffic Act's authority.
And that authority is quite a broad range of authority. We can search your entire car, not just the part where the occupants are. And we can also search everybody in the car, if just on belief that you may have one in your possession. It's a very, very strong authority that we have under the Highway Traffic Act. Probably don't have that same authority under the criminal codes.
Yeah, 100%. So at the end of the day, don't have a radar detector. If you're traveling through, somebody asked me last week, what happens if I'm coming from another province that allows me to have a radar detector and I'm just passing through? Can I have a radar detector while I pass through?
Well, you know what? I know you can transport them, but it has to be
sealed
in its original box.
New, yeah. So blister packed. Do you have maybe they have a heat shrink wrap? There should be
put it back in.
Yeah, a gate where we stop by, put your thing in a box, zip seal it. Yeah, maybe. At the end of the day, don't bring it. Don't bring them to Ontario. Are there canines in traffic services? No, but we could. I would use a fluffy dog here. What can we get a poodle for the office or something? We don't have any canines here. The canine unit is an independent unit that is a citywide unit. There's one place. They focus on their specialty, and we have friends. From other units. Well, we have friends from that visit us on the show on a regular basis. I'm just scrolling through to see if the sergeant's here, but he's not here today. We have friends from Canine.
Lapcho39 from Instagram asks, when a cop car has the lights on, the ones beside the blue and red, like cherries and berries, on the top of the car, what does it mean? I rarely see them.
What happens when they have the lights beside the blue and red lights? Do you mean, like, which ones are we talking about if it's not the red and blue? Like
That's what I was questioning too. Is it
there's
greens?
things called alley lights and there's things called takedown lights. So we have white light that projects forward. Those are takedown lights. So when we're going to stop a vehicle at night, we will use those lights to illuminate the vehicle so we can see more inside the vehicle for safety. And if we're looking for people while we're driving around, if we're, let's say, driving through alleys, alley light, we're driving down streets and we want to see between houses, we have side facing bright lights that project white light so we can see. And that's what those are. But for traffic, for traffic stops or for emergency purposes, traffic clearing purposes, we use simply the red and blue flashing.
One other thing, maybe thinking about it, maybe they could be talking about our automated license plate readers.
Oh,
So some police cars, in all jurisdictions, may have attached to the roof beside their emergency lights automated license plate readers. And as we're driving by vehicles, it is reading license plates, trying to find out if vehicles are stolen or not. And they do light up.
yeah, they kind of emit a red kind of pulsey. I think they're, I don't know what they are. I was going to say infrared or something like that. Fancy schmancy stuff. Will a cop try and pull you over for doing over 100? I think I read that right. They may, because anything over, well, I shouldn't say 100, whatever the speed limit is. So if you're doing 50 in a 50 kilometer an hour zone, you're doing 100, that's stunt driving. Oh yeah, we're after you. If you're doing 101 in a 100 zone, you may not be somebody of interest at that point. 110, maybe you are. It really depends on the officer, the situation, everything factors. But yes, there's no, once you're speeding or exceeding the speed limit, there is no specific safe zone that I can give you that will prevent you from being stopped. Don't speed.
101 and 100 is unlawful.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If I have a child in my car, is it obligatory that I get the bumper sticker or the sign that says child in car?
There's no obligation to put a sticker. It is nice to put the sticker, mostly because people tend to treat you better. I think that they're more cautious around you when they know, but that's really just a personal thing, whether you choose to or not. There's no law saying you have to, or at all.
And I think the stick figure family on your back window, I think that's kind of gone out of style.
Passe?
Yeah.
It's actually a bad idea.
I would, advise
yeah,
against it.
The deal is that it's being suggested by many security specialists that you don't put personal things like hockey teams or things that my kid loves hockey. All these things do is give bad guys an opportunity to figure out what your habits are, who they can target at your home, what kind of things. Like if you say I love Rolex, maybe there's a Rolex there. If you put a firearms enthusiast sticker on your car, maybe there's guns in your house. Don't advertise things you don't want to have stolen is probably a good piece of advice. Let's see here. We've actually gone over time, but I want to see if there's any other questions that we can jump on. And then we have to go and do other stuff. But, U.S. cop here, what's your average academy length? Well, first of all, let me follow you. And two, our basic... We have a Toronto Police College, and every police service is going to do things a little differently. But Toronto has their own police college, and after you do some pre-Elmer or time at our college before going to our provincial college, it adds up to about 6 months in time, roughly. And then you do 10 weeks with a coach officer once you graduate, and then you're an officer who can go on your own and make all your own mistakes. But it's a lifelong learning process for us. But the actual college period of time equates to about 6 months.
And you said pre-Elmer because the provincial police college is in Elmer, Ontario.
Right, which we recently, I recently attended for a course. It was really weird going back to the college after many moons of not being there. The food hadn't changed very much.
Oh no, the food's still bad.
I wouldn't say bad. It was.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no, the food is bad.
The lettuce was lettuce. Some of the stuff was experimental. I'm not sure. I glowed in the dark for a week after I got back. Okay. What is this? Let's see. One last one. What country has the best specialty police? I have no idea. That's not the question. That's not the one I'm picking.
It's going to be biased answer anyway.
Yeah, of course we're the best. Yeah.
Just saying.
Okay. How can I? No, let's go here. Thanks, Louis C. was telling me I needed some water earlier. Viva Cop? I don't know what that is. Someone asked about why.
YRP, Transportation Viva Cop. The
Oh,
Viva,
maybe.
yeah.
That's what they were talking about?
Yes, that's what a Viva Cop is. The Viva Railway,
Ah,
or not Viva Railway, but the
what
Viva
power does a
Transportation.
so what power does a Viva Cop have compared to police? I believe that the transit police or the Viva officers are special constables. So while they are on duty, they have many of the powers of police, and that's assuming they're special constables. I don't know what they are. Viva is in York Region and not someone that I interact with often. I'm making an assumption because in Toronto we have transit special constables that are TTC. So I'm assuming they're going to be on the same board. So I used to be a special constable. Actually, so did Sergeant Campbell when we were court officers before becoming police officers. So what powers do we have? We have more than a citizen, a civilian, but less than a police officer. So we can arrest for fines, events fines committing for both summary and we can also arrest for indictable offenses, whereas a citizen can only arrest for indictable offenses that are fines committing. So there's an expansion. You're one level up, and then when you become a police officer, you have additional powers.
And special constables, their powers are limited to their job duties. So the TTC special constables have that power of arrest, and they also have the power to write provincial offences tickets, but it has to do in relation to what their job is. So it has to do with in relation to TTC property or a TTC vehicle. They can't just go out and write tickets on the side of the road, not in relation to what they're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. There's one question here that I saw earlier. It's stuck. Even if I can't find it, we'll just use that as the end of the day question. And the deal is that people want to know about front license plates and why we issue tickets when people don't put them on. And that's because in Ontario, you're required and issued 2 license plates. So you must use both of them. You have to display them. It's the law. You need to have one in the frontmost part of the vehicle. So that's going to be your front bumper, front grille, somewhere in the front, a conspicuous place that's easy to read that plate. And again, on the rear, you got to have yours in the rear place. Inside the windows of your vehicle doesn't count. That doesn't qualify. The rear has to be illuminated by a light that has more than 3 candela of power. And I don't know what a candela is, but that's what the law says. And in the front, it doesn't have to be illuminated, but it has to be in the front bumper or front area of the vehicle. Front windshield, not something that counts. And if you use it in the front windshield and you end up in a collision, that flying metal disc could be very sharp and ouchy making. I would suggest against it, aside from the fact you can get a ticket for $110 for not displaying a pair of plates properly.
Fun fact, 1 candela is the light emitted
From one candle?
1 candle.
Geez,
So
that
that would
logic.
be 3 of them.
So if you have 3 candles or a light bulb, could you imagine? Folks, it's now 10:10. We've gone a little late, but we enjoyed every minute with you. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll be back again tomorrow, 9 a.m., and we'll do it all over again. And be on the lookout. We're going to be posting some cool content in the next little while, and I look forward to your help. Do I just tell you what the mission is? I'm going to be posting a video, and I'd like you to tag every famous person that's Canadian that you like and want them to participate. We're going to be looking for some support, hopefully get them into a impaired driving education campaign. So you'll be able to tag your famous Canadian, well, famous anybody's. I'll take famous anybody's. All right, that's it. Have a good one. Stay safe, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye. Bye TikTok.
Bye-bye.
Bye Instagram. Bye Twitch. Bye Facebook. Bye YouTube. Bye Twitter. Okay, I think I'm done. Oh, bye LinkedIn.
There we go. All right, we're going to count down. We're going to do this quickly. I'm going to make sure just Tinto Tozy, sorry, we didn't mean to ignore you. Big Jeff Fresh, thanks for hanging out. We've got I don't know what was with all the violent questions today. I'm not going to answer that. We hit a new record in terms of number of people in the room, and actually, no, the 15.4 thousand. We actually had 16,000. But that's pretty cool. 15.4 thousand. Let me take a screenshot of that. View analytics. Yeah, and we had 1,093. I think 1,065 was the max before. I don't think we've ever gone over 1,100. Okay, and we got Pepe Pat says, I seen a trucker on TikTok live stream pointing at the road as he drives. No, they're using their phone if they're using it as a camera. Live streaming, if they're holding it, is illegal. So cool. Sorry I missed you guys earlier. Didn't mean to ignore. Tinto Tozy, you had lots of messages, and I totally didn't see it. Akela Draconis, thanks very much. Morning, time to post, quick holo, run. Okay, that's it. We're out. I got to hit end and go make more TikToks. We'll catch you later.
Bye.